Good morning, everybody. Youth Bike Summit. Welcome to the 4th Annual Youth Bike Summit. We are going to start off this morning with a couple of questions. Who is here for the first time? Woo! Well, you get some kisses. Before. You get kisses. And one last question. Who is excited to be here? You all get kisses. Nobody trip and fall.
Okay, my name is Pasqualina Azzarello, and I am the director of Youth Bike.
Hello, and I'm Jane, and I'm the co-organizer of the Youth Bike Summit, and an assistant professor here at Parsons, who's the academic partner of Youth Bike.
And one theme that you are going to see running throughout the Youth Bike Summit this year is this idea of use your voice. That is what we have learned. It's because you use your voice here in this space that we all create here at the Youth Bike Summit that makes it a very generative space. So every year we really listen to all of the ideas you share and all of the questions you ask, and we allow what's created in this space to guide whatever comes next for our movement. One of the things, it was actually 1 year ago this weekend, during the Sunday visioning session of last year's summit, we had a conversation about how to extend our impact and the growth of our movement beyond the walls of the Youth Bike Summit. How can we continue to work together throughout the year and continue to share our resources and to create a larger impact? And some of you who are here today were in that room when the idea of Youth Bike as a national network of youth bike education organizations came to be. And as a direct result, since last year, we have now created Youth Bike, and the Youth Bike Summit is now a project of Youth Bike. So thank you all for helping to guide that path and make this possible. And one of the things that has come up again and again as we continue these conversations is this idea of collective impact. So for example, if one organization collectively pedals 20,000 miles every year, and that same organization collectively burns 1 million calories every single year, if we start adding those numbers up of all of the work that we are already doing each and every day, I want us all to take a moment to really think about the new math problems we're going to have to share and the new numbers we're going to have to share and what that means, not just for our work, but our families, our communities, and our entire country. We've created a survey. It's a collective impact survey. We have copies of it here today, and we're going to ask one leader from every single organization that's involved in youth and or bikes to fill it out, ask the questions that pertain to your organization, and we're going to start to share those numbers. We're going to have it on our website. It's going to be available to continue to grow because I think we're all going to be really amazed by the collective impact that we all contribute to.
Cool. And we have so many great new things this year at the summit because someone here had a great idea and shared it. And just like that creative, amazing expression and energy found yesterday in the sign painting workshop, one of these new things are maker spaces. And using your voice can be more than words. So we've added 6, count them, 6 maker spaces. Everything from zines, bike cams, to a fashion space. The result of the work today is going to be showcased in tonight's extravaganza, the very first Youth Bike Summit fashion show. And this is organized by West Town's Girls Bike Club. Where are you guys? Oh, they're getting ready, actually. And the Parsons Fashion School. So we are excited about this.
And we have a very exciting announcement to make today. You know, all of the work that we do here, we have people coming from 25 states and 6 countries over the last few years. And this year, the Youth Bike Summit will begin to travel. So the 2015 Youth Bike Summit will take place in Seattle, Washington, hosted by BikeWorks.
Woo! BikeWorks!
And I have a question for everybody. Did you know that right now, while all of us are gathered here today, there is another international bicycle conference going on in Brazil?
In Brazil? Whoa.
Well, we knew. And in fact, during session 2 today, Youth Bike Summit is going global. We are connecting via the interweb to Curitiba, Brazil, and having an amazing discussion and conversation led by Bikes Not Bombs with the World Bike Forum. All right.
And did you know that all of your friends at home can watch the Youth Bike Summit live this year?
Yes, we can. And we knew it. So we have live streaming this year, because what we care about is accessibility, inclusiveness, and diversity. So those people who couldn't get here today can be here. And not only can they watch what's going on, they can participate. So during some of the sessions in the workshops, we've got live streaming sessions where people can be doing a chat to us and actually interacting in the Q&A. And in fact, it's happening now. So everybody on those social media devices, text out to all of your networks that they should live stream the Youth Bike Summit. The URL can be found in your program.
One other question, did you know that you could earn college credit for participating in the Youth Bike Summit this year?
Yes, you can. And thanks to the Rails to Trails Conservancy, are they here? Okay, they're up getting ready too. Our very first pre-college credit program is possible. And these students, these bright young scholars, they will have access to continued mentoring from Parsons faculty all semester, all tuition free. So if any one of you out there is interested in this kind of opportunity, come talk to me, and we'll talk.
So one of the founding principles of the Youth Bike Summit is that this conference is accessible and affordable to anybody who wants to come, especially our youth participants. And none of that would be possible if it were not for our very generous sponsors that help to make the Youth Bike Summit run. I would like to take a moment to thank Bike New York Cycle Club, Planet Bike, Rails to Trails, Specialized, Bicycle Habitat, SRAM, Transportation Alternatives, the League of American Bicyclists, Momentum Magazine, Bike and Roll, the New York City Health Department, VeloJoy, the Alliance for Biking and Walking, Adeline, Materials for the Arts, Give Love Cycle, the Cascade Bicycle Club Education Foundation, Fuji, Rolling Orange Bikes, the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia, Trek, Organic Gemini, Nutcase Helmets, Hosteling International, Pro Gold, and Sun Bicycles for making this possible. And I would also like to say a very special thank you to Recycle a Bicycle, Karen Overton, Susan, Patrick, Damien, Brendan, Lisa, Natalie, all of you. None of this would be possible if it were not for the hard work and dedicated efforts of Recycle a Bicycle. Thank you all so much for continuing to support us.
And one more shout out of thanks to the folks at the new school who have made this happen. Tireless work by the staff of the AMT offices, the support of our dean, Ann Gaines, and a special shout out to a few of the students who have been core people this summit. Daphne, Elaine, and you can meet these guys up at the space in the next thing. Say hi to them, hang out with them. Andrew, he's amazing. Greg, Kelly, and Catherine. So if you see these folks, say hi and thanks.
And now I would like to introduce our first keynote speaker. I remember when I first met Marc. We were riding our bicycles with Kids Ride Club on New York Cycle Club's Escape New York ride. And we were at about mile 25 on the 50-mile ride. And we were pedaling along when I learned that Marc had started a cycling club at his school. He told me that he enjoyed Kids Ride Club so much and wanted to create a club so that other youth could learn that they love riding too. What struck me most about Marc was his thoughtfulness, his sincerity, and his willingness to take initiative. When I asked Marc how he took his idea and turned it into action, he told me how he identified allies, identified resources, and created an outreach plan to get the word out and generate interest. It is my privilege to introduce to you an exceptional young leader, Marc Katz.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Marc Katz, and I am a junior at Stuyvesant High School in New York City here. So start off, some of my earliest memories that I have are of bike riding. When I was 6 years old, I went on a bike trip with my family out west. I rode on the back of a trailer bike with my mom. It was amazing, and that's what I've been told. All I can remember about it are two things: a small jersey with an American flag on it, and a upside-down lemon cake that I made. So, of my memories, they were good. So, as I grew older, I continued to ride, and I rode mostly with my mom. We would do laps in Central Park, but generally that would just be it. Occasionally, as I got stronger, we would go somewhere else. We would ride up to the lighthouse, and we would then sometimes just go south and along the south and then to the east side of Manhattan. I remember when I first did the GW Bridge, I actually didn't go all the way across. I went about halfway, and it was scary. It is high, it is windy, but it was fun. It was a lot of work, and I felt like I had accomplished something. Luckily, my mom knew Dr. Ed Fishkin. Let's give him applause, because he is amazing. Who runs the Kids Ride Club. This is with Recycle a Bicycle, where a bunch of kids get together and we ride to places. And these rides aren't just generally not just to a park or a single area. We do amazing things. We've gone to the swimming pool at NYU, for example, got to jump off their diving boards. We ride to the velodrome. We did some racing there, including getting some instructions from a racer. And we even do longer rides. Generally, we start out shorter and slower, and as the season goes on, we generally do longer and faster. And our final ride is usually the Escape New York, where we do about 50 miles. And these are kids who start out doing 8 and not being able to do it, and just working hard, and with the help of Ed Fishkin and all the leaders, they're able to do these amazing rides. And one of my favorite rides that we've done is we did a overnight trip all the way up to West Point, which I would never have been able to have done without Ed Fishkin and the Kids Ride Club. So in freshman year at high school, I had the idea of creating a club. I didn't know a lot of the people at the school. I didn't know who else was riding. And so I decided that I should just reach out with people. Luckily, I met Justin Strauss, who also had the idea of creating a club. And so we joined together with a lot of work, finding a teacher, getting students to join us, we were able to create Cycle, Stuyvesant High School's bike club. We now have a firm footing, and we are now starting to do we're planning on doing actual rides and instructions to help teach other students how to be a better rider, how to take care of their bikes, and just to reach out to those who don't even know how to ride. We have a lot of people who would like to learn, and so we're planning on doing a class on that. And so it's something that we've done to help reach out, which is a major thing, using your voice. We're reaching out to kids in the school, and I definitely would recommend in your school, if you don't already have a club, creating one. Find other people who like riding, see if you can get a teacher involved so that you can reach out to other people. For me, when I'm not riding and when I'm not doing work, which right now is not very long, I love to travel, I love going outside, which is why I really like biking, because first of all, you are outside, and you get to go to just amazing places that you wouldn't be able to do just by walking or by running. And in a car, it's just you're inside, it's sitting, and there's nothing, when you get there, you're there, you haven't accomplished anything. So for me, riding, it adds a journey to the destination. It lets you do something, feel good about going somewhere, instead of just doing one simple thing. It's also for everyone. Anyone can get a bike. It's cheaper than a car. You don't have to pay for gas. You don't have to pay for... You don't have to pay for parking. And you can go, and in New York City, having a car is overkill. You generally don't need one to go to places in New York City. And we have an amazing public transportation system, but sometimes even that is not always enough, which is why I really like all these new bike lanes that have been opening up, because now we can just ride to pretty much anywhere in the city. And for me getting to school, it's faster for me to ride there than it is for me to take the train, even though it's just 4 stops away. And though it's really, anyone can do it. It's a lot of people that I know who want to learn how to ride are afraid of doing it. And I definitely have fallen. I luckily have never hurt myself seriously, but I do know people who have. And just the big thing is wearing a helmet. And just as long as you protect yourself, you ride smartly, you're going to ride safely. So, and as I said before, the city is becoming more and more bike friendly. We have all these new lanes coming up. We have the City Bikes program, which allows you don't need to bring a bike somewhere. You can just ride from point A to point B. And we have over 250 miles of bike lanes in New York City alone. According to Transportation Alternatives, there are over 200,000 New Yorkers biking every day. Mayor de Blasio supports the idea of Vision Zero, an initiative to reduce street fatalities caused by car crashes to 0 accidents. This is really good because I know from riding that in streets where there are no bike lanes, there's cars, they're fast, they're large, and I always feel that something is going to go wrong. And I feel that with this initiative, just reaching out to people, letting people know about all of these new, that there are riders, is a big thing. And another thing about riding, it's good for the environment. As I said, you don't use gas when you ride. There's no emissions, unless you are emission. And it's an exercise. It's something that you can do to keep yourself healthy. And a 150-pound person biking for only 1 hour at 50 miles per hour burns almost 700 calories. It's an amazing aerobic activity, and it's good for the cardiovascular and respiratory systems. It's also really good for the mind. It reduces stress and improves sleep. And, as you can see with all the people here, it is a social activity. I have made many friends riding, meeting new people, and I have taught and been taught by countless number of friends that I have met through biking. It's also more than just commuting. As I said before, you just go to amazing places by bike that you could go by car, but there are some places that you can't even go by car. For example, in Massachusetts, where I ride with my mom sometimes, as was mentioned before, the Rails to Trails program, which are, you have train tracks that they've just pretty much cemented over. It's flat, it's straight, and it's just beautiful ride that you just can't get to these places by car because it's just one single bike lane. It's beautiful, it's amazing for the environment, and one of my friends, Adam, he recently did a really long bike tour this summer. And he got it, and for stuff like that, even if you want to do an overnight thing, you need to get panniers, which are the bike bags to hold clothes, tent, sleeping bag, etc. And he did this amazing backpacking trip this summer, and he had a lot of fun. And in that sense, there was no destination. It was completely the journey for him. And one thing, if you're like competitive, like sports, bike racing is amazing. My friend Justin, as I mentioned before, he before was just a casual cycler, and working with him, he was able to become an actual racer, training and everything, and he won the Junior Nationals this year. My mom also is an amazing racer. She last year she did a half Ironman. I don't know how that's possible, but it's just an amazing sport. It's fast, it's fun, and it's just amazing. There's places you can go, things you do. It's good for you and the world around you, and it's just something to show. Something to help the world become a better place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Okay, to introduce Shem Rajoon, I have to tell you guys a little story. So Shem is a graduating senior here at Parsons. And about 2.5 years ago, I got to know him very well on a field work project in Kathmandu, Nepal. And we went there, and we got really sick, which is part of how I got to know him so well. But one of the things, I'm going to kill myself on these kisses. Okay, so one of the things we were doing is looking at climate change and sustainability there. And so we were doing some activist grassroots mapping called balloon mapping, where we would send a weather balloon up into the air with a camera attached and take some aerial photography. So to do that, we needed helium. And there's no party cities in Kathmandu. So we had to find this guy on a bike with a helium tank. And we had to track him down, so we had to go crash all these little birthday parties and get the guy on the bike with the helium tank. But I gotta tell you, this guy was not using helium. We still don't know what that gas was. But it did get the balloon up. It took about 3 hours for so here we are in this famous UNESCO site, Durbar Square, sick, waiting for a balloon to inflate, to launch up in the air. And hour after hour, and all of a sudden I look up, and there's Shem on this 1,000-year-old World Heritage Site doing flips. And he's got like 50 to 60 kids around him, and the whole square is starting to do flips and jumping off these elephant tusks. And they had this incredible dialogue with their bodies, with their movement, with their action, not with any words. And it was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And this is what Shem does. He brings people together. And so it is my honor to introduce to you Shem Rajoon.
Good morning, everyone. I had to come in here with an introduction, with the entrance like that, Jane. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me just set this up a little bit without breaking anything. Awesome. What's up? Yeah. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you again for having me. You guys are awesome. And it's a pleasure to just be here in this community of fellow bikers. So I'm currently a senior at Parsons and the co-founder of Brooklyn Beast. It's a facility that focuses on alternative movements as a means to fitness and freedom of expression. I grew up in a small town in Trinidad, south of Trinidad, and since I can remember, I've always been the kid who tried jumping off the couch, who jumped from the couch to the coffee table, climbed up the side of the garage to, climb up a mango tree. That was like my life, Games I played as a kid, we would run across like narrow canals, all right? And there's a lot of dirty water in the canals, and you have to jump from one side to the other, and who can make it the furthest wins. Like, that's my games, right? So every morning, my dad, he would wake me up, take me to the bus, give me money to go to school and get back. And I often, skipped taking the bus back. No, note, I went to school 2 towns away from where I lived, right? I would skip, it was $2 to take the bus. I would skip going back, and I would just take the time to just explore, walk around, get lost. And, those were things that just kind of like laid the foundation for me as a kid, like being able to just, go on a journey. Looking back, I can't really remember learning to ride a bike, as I'm sure most of you do, or even who taught me, What I do know is that I did learn as a kid, and I came from a very poor family, and most likely it was a shared bike, You guys imagine sharing a bike with 13 siblings? Anyone? No? I'm telling you, it's crazy. I moved here, and I moved to America in 1996. I was born in Trinidad. And later that year, I met someone who became a lifelong friend of mine. A friend and mentor, and sometimes he could even be like a dad. I have a white dad, guys. I'm just letting you guys know. His name is Richard Calton. He ran an organization called Harlem Live, and it was an online news publication solely led by youth in Harlem. Richard was no ordinary human being. Okay, I guess that's what that's why I responded to him so well. He knew how to see potential in youth, even if they couldn't see it in themselves. Richard gave me, along with hundreds of other inner city youth, the exposure to journalism, photography, videography, web design, communication skills, and oddly enough, consistent access to bicycles. Richard was an avid rider, and he still is. I'm sure he even rides now in the snow, right? Yeah? He has like chains that he puts on his tires, and he rides in the snow, yeah. He made riding a part of our daily lives at Harlem Live. We were there every day, and when we would do research to cover a story, it was, when we did research to cover a story, that's what we did. We rode to cover the story. We were youth biking journalists. Do we have that today? Do we have youth biking journalists around? more or less, no? Yeah, we were youth biking journalists. Rich, you should trademark that right there. Harlem Live grew to become a world-renowned organization, but that was one key element that a lot of people didn't know. You know, aside from covering stories, Rich had a friend, which has a friend. His name is Eric Clayette, and he was the founder of the Youth Bike Corps. And many staffers were part of that organization as well. And YBC hosted several bike tours, you know, and they would just basically take inner city youth and take them to different trails, you know, from Van Cortlandt Park to Chicago to Colorado, even California. For a New York City youth, you know, that exposure alone is just amazing. And not to imagine just like, you know, being on a bike and riding trails too in the mountains. So that was pretty awesome. So there were frequent bike trips, as well as using the bike as a tool to go and cover stories. We learned about bike safety, you know, while riding. We learned how to patch up bikes, how to repair our bikes, various signals while riding in groups, you know. And, you know, Richard is a bit eccentric, so till this day he yells, "Hup, hup, 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 hup," when we ride. So, like, it like encourages us, it pushes us to, like, just keep going. So till this day, you know, this was a long time ago, I still use that. And even when I ride with my friends, I say it, so. And I frequently call him on the phone, and that's how I say hello. I'm like, "Hello, Rich? Hup, 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 hup." So I want to tell you one of these stories before I go into to where I am currently. So there was this one story, and I don't know if Rich remembers this, but I was 4'11" at the time, right? And I was about 12. And I was riding an adult mountain bike, okay? Adult mountain bike is like here, I'm like down here somewhere. So, you know, it was a challenge, you know? There was this hill on Amsterdam Avenue on 125th, and it looked like a mountain, okay? This thing was like steep. And Rich and I were riding back to our headquarters, which was at Columbia University at the time. And we started riding up the hill, right? So this is me at the earliest stage of riding. You know, I'm not a pro like most of you guys in here. So we started riding up the hill, right? Quarter of the way up, I'm like, okay, I'm bailing out. I'm saying to Rich, "That's it, Rich, I'm walking. My legs are burning, I can't do it." He's like, "Stop being a baby." That's what he usually tells us. You know, he talks down to the children. It's all good. It encourages us. He's like, "It's only a few blocks left. I'm like, "Nah, Rich, my legs are cramping up, yo. I can't do it," right? So he begins to say, "I bet you I'll make it to Columbia before you." Pretty much. He's challenging me. I'm just like, all right, I'm down for the challenge. It's a wrap. I don't know where it came from. I mustered up this strength, this courage. I like endured for the last second, you know, and I made it up the hill, and I was just like, I was proud, you know. I couldn't walk for a week, but I mean, hey, you know, that was a big accomplishment for me. So, you know, stories like that, moments like that, all add to like this crazy person I am today. So I'm just gonna fast forward a bit, right? So I've been riding, I've been jumping, I've been climbing, flipping, as you can see, a little poor demonstration over here. Meanwhile, while I was in Harlem Live, I also started doing capoeira. So capoeira is an Afro-Brazilian martial arts dance, martial arts disguised as a dance. And around the same time I was doing this stuff at Harlem Live, I got exposed to capoeira as a kid, but I never really got into it. You know, it was that thing that like, oh man, I want to be like that guy on a movie, you know, Only the Strong. I want to do that like Jenga thing they're doing. So I was just like, okay, you know, it was in the back of my head. So I was in school one day, and a teacher came up to me, came into class, and he said, "Does anyone know what capoeira is?" And I was just like, how does this white guy know what capoeira is? Right? So I raised my hand, and then he points me out, and he says, "Okay, you know, tell the class what capoeira is." I was like, I didn't know I was going to answer a question. Okay. So thankfully, I did my research, you know. So I answered the question. I explained, you know, capoeira is an Afro-Brazilian, you know, martial arts disguised as a dance. He was like, "Man, you nailed it." He's just like, "We're going to start a program in our auditorium." And it was basically like this, a little auditorium on the stage, and every afternoon we would basically come there and train. And that kind of started this like new exploration for me. I was just like learning about my body, learning how to explore, pushing the limits of my body, learning to see how flexible I can be, how to use my instincts. Those were all things that capoeira brought to me. And I was really, really fascinated by the stuff that a human could accomplish with their bodies. Meanwhile, I was doing that, so I'm at Harlem Live. I just got into capoeira, right? So now capoeira, there's a lot of like flips and tricks, so I'm just like, okay, I want to learn a little bit more. So there was this program in Harlem led by the Big Apple Circus, and it was an after-school program. And they would teach you like gymnastics and tumbling and flips and how to juggle. I learned how to juggle. I know how to juggle, people. So I also got interested in that program. I joined it, and they were teaching you all of these crazy things, pushing my body to the limits yet again, flipping around, right? So that just pushed me more, and I just got more and more encouraged. This was just building, right? So this is building up the layers here. So I got more and more encouraged. Anytime I would see a mattress outside, if someone threw their mattress out, it was a wrap. That was a mat for me, okay? I was doing backflips off stairs onto someone's old dirty mattress. I can't believe it. Yeah. So I gained some really, really great friends during this time who I'm still friends with to this day during the Big Apple Circus days. We used to go to Central Park. There's an area in Central Park. It's a kids' playground. And this is around junior year of high school. My friends and I used to go to this place called Heckscher Park. And Heckscher Park is today it's considered the main haven for people who wanted to try to do parkour. Right? This is where everyone in New York City started, mainly in this area. This is where the community came together. But we didn't know what parkour was. All I knew about was Jackie Chan, okay? I knew about Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan jumping from this building to the staircase. That was like the stuff for me. So, we went to Heckscher Park and we saw people doing what Jackie Chan was doing. I used to climb up stuff, jump off stuff, but I didn't necessarily know that it was a discipline that was developed in France, and it's called parkour. So they were jumping up the steps. They were jumping. A regular playground slide goes down. They're running up the playground slide to jump on the edge, to flip off the top. I was just fascinated. I was like, oh my God. I'm already doing capoeira. I'm already doing Big Apple Circus. Now I found parkour. It's like, okay, my mind is blown. I'm just like, all right, boom, I'm gonna get into it. So I started training. I met some crazy guys who just pushed us, taught us, like, okay, these are the fundamentals of parkour. This is a stride, this is a Kong. You jump over this way. And I just kind of learned the techniques of stuff that I was pretty much already doing with my body, and I'm pushing it a little bit further. So now I was a traceur. That's what you consider a parkour person. And my friends and I was like, okay, this is cool. Let's create a group, So we created a group. It was 6 of us, and the name of our group was called Kinetic Movement. That was a cool name, right? Kinetic Movement. So we decided to take what we were learning, what we knew. This was like already 4 years of experience of just training, to turn it into something that we can teach other people. We want to spread the art form beyond just our peers and ourselves. So we started to take it to like local gyms. So first place we approached was Crunch Gym, and we just gave them a proposal and said, we're professionals at this. This is a new art form. It can really improve your physical fitness, and we feel like this would be a great opportunity for your members. And they actually believed us. So there it goes. They basically gave us the opportunity to come in the door and put their members in our hands. And that was like our first, like, really taking parkour beyond just outside on the streets, random people. So now we was doing it professionally, right? I know, right, brother, man? So, that parkour, this is all new. This is like skateboarding back in the days. Everybody hated skateboarders. They, if you saw a skateboarder outside, it's like get them off of the streets, and it's the same thing with parkour. So we were trying to kind of change that way of thought, because most people saw parkour as jumping or flipping off a building, which I do occasionally, but they tend to miss like the really significant aspects of it, being able to push your body to limits that are remarkable and unbelievable. So from Crunch, we then took it to Chelsea Piers. We had padding now. This is a gymnastics field house, and we basically want to push and say, okay, this is opportunity to just show future gymnasts what they can do beyond the limits of just the discipline of gymnastics. And we exposed it to their members, and we actually was able to start a parkour program at Chelsea Piers, which is still continuing now. So if you guys want to try it, feel free. But throughout this whole time, I always just maintained connections with friends that I've met in capoeira, friends that I've met at the Big Apple Circus, friends that I've met through parkour, and just created this network of friends, So one day, a student came to me in Chelsea Piers. This is Sunday night. The class ends at like 10 o'clock. The student comes to me and he says, man, Shem, I want to do this every day. He's like, how can I make you allow me to do this every single day? I was just like, I don't know, man. We've thought about, opening a place, but, that's just going to take a lot of work. He's just like, man, I'll do whatever it takes to do this every day. So the following week, he brought another member in my class who happened to be a marketing specialist. So we sat down, me and two other friends who taught the parkour class, and we just started, thinking, brainstorming about how could we create a facility that we can do this every single day. So weeks went by. We started developing a business plan. I sat down with Jessica at the moment, that's the lady who's the marketing specialist. She helped me draft up a business plan. I called one of my buddies who does capoeira, and he happened to be a financial manager at a huge bank at the time. So he basically helped me put together a budget, and all of these networks of friends, I started to call out to them, I was just like, okay, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Collaboration. And then these network of friends helped me build like a foundation of something I can use professionally to approach someone, to potentially fund, this project of ours. Note, there were probably like one parkour gym out at this time. This was like, it's very, very new to us, and we didn't really believe that it would happen. I mean, we believed that it would happen. We didn't know it was going to become a reality, right? But we just, persevered. We kept working. So we started looking at spaces. Now, we didn't have any money, right? But we would just go into like warehouses, checking it out, but because even though we didn't have any money, this was something that was kind of reigniting the reality of it. It was just like, okay, for us going to see a space without any financial backing, it was just kind of like, I can imagine this being here, that being there, and that continued to just like churn this like creativity in my head, and it's like, okay, this can happen. So one of our friends introduced us to some funders. And we, at the time, had all of the foundation. We already sat down, we drafted the business plan. We got the financial model that showed a projection of like what a company like this would make from the first year to 6 to 10 years on, right? And we were just like, okay, let's do it. So we showed it to them. I was sitting in the lab in Parsons, the 10th floor lab, and I was actually learning how to do Google SketchUp, right? So I basically created a 3D render. This is all like old school right here. Google SketchUp did a 3D render of the space. I had no idea what I was doing. I just had boxes and triangles, but it worked out. And I made a 3D render of the space, and I pitched it to these people, and they were just like, man, we think this could really happen. So, just like that, it happened. I can't believe these people put some faith in me right here. But I think the main part of it is that they saw the work that we put into it. We continuously put work into it. So we had the opportunity to now create a gym realistically. So we went to this warehouse in Brooklyn, We checked it out. It stored, cars. Basically, it was like a car garage. And we basically took this car garage, ripped it apart, and then threw things that we saw in the parks. There were bars on Tompkins Square Park. We created a floated bar setup. So now you can swing on monkey bars indoors. We started making these really interactive structures that you can move around, so you can jump from one thing to the other. We made a big foam pit, so you can jump 20 feet into a pile of foam. We had a trampoline, a spring floor, all of these really crazy things to just push people's, a level of creativity using their bodies. And, we didn't really know what we were creating, At the time, there was no place for you to just freely just go and just explore your body in a facility. It was too dangerous. To be honest, it's an insurance risk. So no one wants to go and have some crazy kid jumping off something because they feel like they may break their neck or something. So we were just like, you know what? That's not the focus. Let's make this open. So we opened our doors about a year ago. Brooklyn Beast opened. That's the name of the space. And we basically had class every single day, And that was one thing that my buddy talked about. He when he came to me and he said, yo, I want to do class every day. Our schedule was 9 a.m. to 12 midnight every day. And when people would work, people work during the day, right? You guys work from 9 to 5. You guys are going to work from 9 to 5, the younger ones out there. Or maybe you're not going to work 9 to 5. I'll get to that later. We opened, and during the daytime, when there was nothing going on, that's when we would do more community work. So we would bring in nonprofit organizations that work with youth, bring them into the space, and just teach the kids. No matter what, no matter how much budget they had, it was just like, okay, this is a space, we have this time, you guys bring them in, and I'll take care of it with the staff. And we basically just brought hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids during the day. And in the afternoon, we were teaching the formal classes. So it was really, really awesome. You can check out Brooklyn Beast. You can go to brooklynbeast.com, BKLYN Beast. We actually created a movement. I was actually surprised at how much people responded to Brooklyn Beast. I mean, we made T-shirts. People were rocking Beast T-shirts. We got tons of media coverage, and it was pretty awesome because for me, I was a junior in college. I was doing parkour, doing capoeira, dancing, all of these different aspects, and I still had the chance to really push this dream, So, I want to give you guys a little, if I give you a word of advice from me, right, to you guys, I would say, don't be afraid to dream, right? Don't be afraid to explore, to create, Those were the things that really, really made Beast a possibility for me, is that you may think of something, you may be like, man, I wanna create a bike shop, But then you're like, damn, how do I create a bike shop? It's not possible. I'm a high school student. How do I create a bike shop? Yo, it's definitely possible. It's realistic, right? For real. You just got to make sure you network. There's tons of people in here who have tons of resources and be able to just give you the right tools to send you in the right direction. So don't be afraid to dream. Definitely not. Make friends, network. You may be able to call on them later to help you develop your bike park, right? I'm telling you, make sure to follow through, And this is a very important part for me because there are moments where where doubt fills your head, where you feel like, man, this isn't gonna work. I don't know if this will make it. I started with the idea, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. But you got to keep something that inspires you. And for me, my inspiration was movement and teaching people. So even though I was building the space, I was still teaching classes whenever I had the chance at Chelsea. So that encouragement, that inspiration of just like, man, I want to see people do this all the time. I kept that inspiration going. So anytime I had doubt, I was just like, okay, I'm teaching a class tomorrow. And then the looks that I saw on everyone's face, that just reignited that for me. And the last thing is just like, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible, trust me. They say people can't fly. I fly off buildings all the time, okay? All the time. So don't be afraid and just follow your dreams. And trust me, it can happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Shem.
Now I know why he doesn't get to class.
Well, these were both just such beautiful speeches and such, important reminders of what intergenerational exchange is all about. That's another founding principle of the Youth Bike Summit, and hearing about Richard and Dr. Fishkin and how instrumental adults can be in young people's lives. Youth, you got to take initiative, and adults, you got to listen, and you've got to work together to help create that space. And one takeaway I have from both of your talks this morning, which I really appreciate, is it's just a reminder to, pay attention to what you love, because there's a lot of information there. And, we get to create the world we live in, and you both are just such wonderful, beautiful examples of how to demonstrate that. And, it's really interesting, our lineup today, because our next speaker was once upon a time a young man in New York City. And like them, he loved to ride, and like them, he dreamed dreams. And like them, he took the steps to make his dreams come true. As a teenager, Nelson Vails took his love of riding bikes to a whole new level. He began racing, he got a job working as a bike messenger, and he would sometimes ride 40 miles to start the day before heading back to Manhattan to work. Mr. Vails rode as a professional from 1988 to 1995 and represented the United States at the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, California, where he won the silver medal in the 1,000-meter match sprint. Vails was the first African-American cyclist to win an Olympic medal, and he was inducted to the U.S. Bicycle Hall of Fame in 2009. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to introduce Nelson the Cheetah Vails.
Wow, that was the best wake-up call introduction. I don't know what to say. Hey, welcome, everyone. Hey, just before we get started, thanks, Mark and Shem. That was great. I mean, I'm living through you guys all over again. But everyone, let's stand up and stretch real quick, because I'm going to take you guys on a journey. So stand up and where you are and stretch a little bit. Let's pause that, Joe. Can everybody hear me? Can you guys hear me where you are? I'm not going to work with the microphone yet.
Oh, we need you to actually live stream.
Oh, that's right. We're streaming live. Hey, okay. I'm going to put the mic down in a minute, and then I'll go back to my space. But, all right, everybody, let's have a seat real quick. I'm going to take you guys on like a little 15-minute journey in a little bit around the world. But thank you so much, Pasquale. That was a great introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, again, being a youth, growing up in Harlem, New York City, as a baby of 10, always had a bicycle all my life. And still today, I do not know how to fix my bicycle. There's someone else that does that for me. That's why we have you guys today. So, so thank you for that, guys. But I can change my flat, right, Neil? All right, thanks. But anyway, the journey has been a long one, and today is the day that I launch my life story documentary in Harlem at the Mist Theater. So tonight we're having a big gala event, and eventually you'll be able to find this documentary either online or I'll bring it to a theater near you, unless it's bootleg somewhere. So we're working on a program right now to prevent people from coming in the theater tonight and downloading my movie somehow. And next, it'll be on YouTube. But I'll look forward to sharing this with you. We're hosting a matinee on my documentary for another youth program. And any of you, if you're still here or if you have a friend that is not here and you want to text them, they can come and meet us at the Mist Theater in Harlem and join us at 12:30 for an afternoon showing before the evening gala. But in the meantime, I just want to open up to a quick question, 1 or 2 questions, and then I'm going to take you guys on a journey. All right, good, because it's going to promote a lot of questions. But I'm going to give you back the microphone, and let's get this started, Joe. So we'll dim the lights a little bit. But anyway, growing up in Harlem, New York City, again, as a youth of 10, I was able to travel around the world via bicycle. So a lot of this information you'll be able to find on the new nelsonvails.com. I'm currently building a great website, which is going to be an informational cycling hub for everyone. And like this program here, you will soon be able to find information and links to take you to where you want to be on nelsonvails.com. So stay tuned for the new nelsonvails.com as it's going to take you for a journey. So as I talk, we'll just explore. This is one of the European commercials of my 6-day riding. I raced as a professional. 8 years I raced in Europe during the winter, spring in Japan, and throughout different parts of the world in the United States throughout the rest of the summer. But it was a year-round circuit. I'm the only American still today that made a living just racing on the velodrome year-round. Most people now still have to race things like the Tour de France or road races to make a living, but I was able to just race indoors, outdoors around the world for 8 years. And actually, I raced professionally 17 years. I'd like to say as a professional amateur. But throughout this time of my life, growing up, I became an innovator. Innovator as far as the new track cycling, the fixed gears. Working with Zip and the engineers, I was one of the first Americans to actually race and use a disc wheel, which they thought that it would never be done. And this is me here up front, racing one of the European Cairns. This race is actually taking place in Bordeaux, France at like 2 a.m. There's dinner, there's dancing, there's a band playing, and there's bike racing going on. But this is one of the European Cairns, and this is one of the first disc wheels invented, along with the 3-spoke. The engineering team said it would work, and I became an innovator, and now it's a standard piece of equipment for track racing today. Who would have known? But the nickname is the Cheetah, and this is how the Cheetah operates. Go ahead, keep cheering. Say go, Nelly, go. My nickname from the Cheetah became Nelly, from just a European name that they provided me with. But this is me running for my life, all the way to the line, the usual. But the 3-spoke wheel became a 4-spoke Mavic wheel, and the disc still remains, but it became a standard issue in Europe now. It's kind of fun. But anyway, so that's just one of the many races that you get a chance to win. Thank you. So from there, just racing around the world. 6-day racing for me was a part of life. I didn't know anything else, and it's something that you don't read about in USA Today or with social media today. It's very little of it. If it was today on social media what it was back then you all would have been known or up to speed on what goes on with what I do for a living. So again, I wanted to bring you just a short film on one of my races. Again, this is like Zurich, Switzerland, and I'm racing the Italian champion, the Belgium champion who has the leader's jersey, and then that's Nelly back there in the back, right? This is a big track. There's the band. See the band playing? See all the people in the beer garden? So it looks hazy, but that's actually 90% of the European smoke. So it's smoky, hazy, it's warm inside and cold outside. But that is actual smoke, you know, from the cigarette smokes, ventilation, but it's all good. This particular jersey I'm wearing here, we're introducing the new AAA soccer team. It wasn't their first-class soccer team, I guess. I can't remember the levels, but it was one of their big farm teams called Nonstop. And so the team sponsored me for a week, and this was their jersey. So it was kind of nice they made a skin suit for me to match the team's colors, and that paid pretty good money. I mean, Swiss franc is better than $1. And, racing like this, for you kids today to see the world on a bicycle, you can make anywhere up to $1,000 a night. And now it's up to like almost $2,000 a night. And this was back in the 90s. This was 91. I was making $1,000 a day, even if I wasn't at a facility, but on my way to the next facility. So it was about $30,000 a month. After taxes, you take home about $20,000. So that was kind of a good money to send home each week. But this is one of my sprint races where, again, tactics is the key, and you have to watch. You have two guys to watch for. The Italian champion, he likes to ride from the top, and he's probably going to try to ride from the bottom. But for me, as a cheetah, I always like to keep my speed up, and I like to ride by basically going forward but looking behind you. And a lot of this skill comes from being a messenger in New York City, to be able to maneuver. So for all you folks that are riding in the streets of New York, if you ride anywhere else around the world, it becomes easy, Especially when somebody's yelling at you, "Car back." It's like, yeah, okay. But this is my life again. During the year of 1991, 1992, with the World Cup Series today, I became world #1. And that's something to follow the legacies of someone like Major Taylor. It's called World Cups today in modern day cycling, but this was called Sprinter Cups. And this was a great famous race. You had the best of the best. There's the world champion, Michael Hubner. And you had the European champion, Frenchie, we call him. So you had Hubie, Frenchie, and Nelly. And Frenchie was the European champion. That's Patrick DeRocha. And then that's me. And that's us demonstrating a track stand. And again, the 3-spoke wheel in the front and the disc wheel. Originally, they said it would never work. But myself and the engineers proved the cycling world wrong, and so now it becomes a standard. My friend from SRAM, where are you? There you go, see? And this was way back in the day. So now the SRAM and ZIP is one big happy family. I would like to say thank you for working with me as a youth and developing this product that is now in mainstream today. So thanks again. And because of some of the things like this was part of my induction into the Hall of Fame as an innovator, too. So it's good. It's good to be able to speak 5 languages socially, not in a communication sense, but enough to ask directions and get through borders. Because to have this black guy going through Poland and Hungary with a brand new Mercedes that's not even out yet, and I have all the correct paperwork, and they're going, this doesn't make sense. And where are you going? You live where? Yeah, because I had a house or flat in East Germany in a small town called Chemnitz. And that's because Michael Hubner lived in Chemnitz. He was like the mayor. They loved him there, so Nelly became the vice mayor. But this is me winning again, one of those big nights and pulling it off, beating the world champion. And this was like a mini world championships at 2, 3 in the morning again. And the crowd goes crazy, but being able to take points away from that and finishing tied for second in the evenings program for Zurich 6-day, this is a pretty good week's worth of work. So I'd like to thank you for letting me share this with you. This is stuff that people have never seen before. The best part of everything, winning is everything, and the best part of the evening is basically getting flowers. They want you to throw those flowers in the crowd. I had a room full of flowers in the champagne bucket all the time. But this is the highlight of racing when, 2, 3 in the morning, you get your picture taken, you're on a sports show. Hey, Joe, do you have sound on this? I'm going to just take you for a ride in Japan. So I'm going to explain how this goes, and I'll do some translation if anybody doesn't understand Japanese. It's my second language. My nickname was Tokyo Nelly. This is race number 10. This is a Kirin race where you have the Europeans versus the Japanese. Race number 10, it's a betting sport in Japan. And I'll try to explain our line. That's Nelly. That's Vails in Japanese. All right, so that's Michael Hubner. You saw him earlier with the stripes on. That's Sean Wallace with the blue on. He's from Great Britain. Claudio Gardinelli, you just saw him too. He's number 1. And there's Nelly. I'm the black guy right there. All right. So again, first African American to go live and race in Japan. And this is a gambling sport where they're betting on you. But this is our foreign line, we call it. So you have Italian, British. He has to say it twice because I can't understand him. And then Hubi. So Hubi's talking to me in German. Goalie's talking whatever he's talking about, but it's only in Italian because he hates speaking English. Why don't you speak Italian? I hate speaking English. It's like, okay, teach me. So I had to learn Italian. That's the Japanese line. So this is a standard race that you bet on. And this is what real Kirin racing is in the afternoon, and it's televised too. So, I'm a lead-out guy. The whole idea is for Michael Hubner in the red. We're working for Michael Hubner, so we're going to lead him out so he can win the race. Claudio would be the second guy to win the race, if not get second place. And then you have me and Sean Wallace as the two lead-out guys. So we're going to show you what happens when the plan goes wrong.
そしてゴリネリの後ろに4番のショーン・ワラスがつけまして、9番ネルソン・ベイリス、3番ミハイル・ヒュープナーとこういった並びとなりました。
They're talking about the lead out and how the line is, and then you got the Japanese guys they're focusing on. So watch these guys, they're sneaky. Watch these guys. See, and Hubi, we're all looking back now. Notice we're all looking back because they're there. And they're not doing anything, so what's wrong? So now here we go. We're going to start some shit now. There's Wallace. So here's our little line. We're going 30 miles an hour right now. So this is what happens when your panties get in a bunch. They're telling me to come back, and so I'm telling Wally to come back, but Wally doesn't hear me say come back. So now I'm backing up at 30 miles an hour, and then Claudio's talking in all kinds of Italian, telling me, die, 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 go, 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 Nelly, go, go. And here I go. There's Cheetah going to work. That was some good racing there. We got like first, second, fourth, and sixth. That was big money. That's the lead out. Now, knowing that Claudio's underneath me, I've raised up just a little bit so that he can get through. And then Hubi comes over the top from the draft. And then the Japanese guy is sneaking in. And they're looking at the photo finish because they want to see who gets second. So look at the line. And so the Japanese got second. But that's my life in Japan. Now, this is how you get paid. Can you hear this, Joe? This is how you get paid. Listen to this.
You can open up one eye.
All kinds of languages going on.
The holding of the pen.
If you find some chicken tonight, stick to me and you give one time for me. I give one shot more for me.
Honey, you're going to carry your buck with you, bringing home the bacon the best way I can. Thanks. Let's fade out and go. I don't know who she is. She's after the fellas.
You know who she is.
Thanks, guys. So I'm happy to share this little piece with you guys, so thanks for allowing me to do that. Now I can open up the floor for a little bit of questions because now I know you might have some questions now, right? But that was just a quick glimpse of what I did for 8 years as a professional living in and around Europe. I commuted around the world from Indianapolis at the time. Indianapolis, Chicago, wherever there was a runway somewhere around the world, that's where I remained. Interesting story about myself prior to the Olympics, because she talked about me winning an Olympic medal, and I forget to highlight that sometimes, because doesn't everybody? But I forget sometimes, but I try not to take it for granted. But prior to the '84 Olympic Games, a small team of us, young kids, we all lived in Europe, and our first place we went to live and train was in Poland. So that was my first language I learned to speak because our coach was Polish. And so in Poland, we learned to speak Polish. And I traveled around the world from there. And then we moved on to Russia, a small city called Tbilisi, which is south. It's like San Diego, longitude-wise. People smile. It's sunny down there all the time. They had a big, nice track. But we stayed there for a month, and that was a good life to live. And then we moved on to Seoul, Moscow, where they had the best track in the world, and we raced and trained there. But that was good preparation prior to the Olympic Games. And with 4 members on the team, only 2 people can actually go. And so it was hard work. And I'd just like to mention to most of you, if you do have an opportunity or a drive to be anything at that Olympic level, people say, oh, you trained 4 years for the Olympics to win a medal. You trained 4 years to make the team. People don't know that. In America, everyone is so good. You look to the left of you, to the right of you, that guy's just as good as you are. So you have to work hard to make the team in order to win a medal. And this is all about teamwork. It took a team for me to be able to get to that level, and it takes a team for you to stay on point here with everything that you guys are doing here at the Youth Bike Summit. So like Shem said, there's a lot of connections, a lot of communications here. So make those connections, guys. Take some good notes while you're here, because 2 days later, 2 months later, 12 months later, you're going to contact someone, and you guys are going to connect and make things happen. So stay on point with that. Let's open it up for any questions.
At this point in the morning, if anyone has any questions for Mr. Vails or for Shem or Marc, we're going to ask that you stick around at the end and ask after. We're running a little bit behind schedule, and we just want to make sure we're on par for our first workshop session. If that's okay, thank you so much. This was so wonderful.
Take pictures with everybody, so let's get together and move on before the next workshop. So let's just keep this brief. Let's just open it up for 1 or 2 questions. We had a question here up front. How did you make your, when you first started out, you were 16 and you're a cyclist, so how was that Thank you.
So when you first started out, because I'm 16, when you first started racing, how did you kind of make that career work? Because I'm kind of, I raced for Neighborhood Backwards Skating Cycling Foundation, but it's still hard as an independent cyclist to get into races and win races, you know, kind of by myself or even with the team.
Well, good question there. At the same age, 16, 17, 18, those were my transition years. I raced in Central Park with the Century Road Club. I did ride for Toga Bike Shop, which was the main team around town at the time, and there's a lot of bike clubs. But it was a stair-stepping process for me from one club to the next. And Toga was my main launch, and my forte was the track, so I did race at Casina, and I was discovered at Trexeltown by the national team coaching staff. So by you racing, and win or lose, it's a discovery process, and I'll be able to probably go a little further on that. Just reach out to me on nelsonvails.com. And I'll be able to provide you with some emails and some phone numbers to make contacts, because there are people out there that are searching for someone like you. And you'll be able to show them what you got. Let's just do one more question.
Mine is not as much a question as just I want to say thank you for all you've done. For us as young messengers back in the early 90s, you couldn't buy a track bike in a regular bike shop. You'd have to go, you'd have a Pinarello or whatever you could afford. And you gave us, you know, thank you. That's all I got to say. We used to do track racing in DuPont Circle during rush hour traffic, where we'd set up 2 people to hold your bike and then you just go, weaving in through traffic. But you inspired us to go out to actually do real racing and go to category 2, 3 racing and stuff like that. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Again, and he's talking about me making the transition as a New York City bike messenger. Now, remember, everyone here has a smartphone. I worked back in the days when you had a pocket full of dimes and you go to a phone booth. I don't even think you guys even know what that is still. But this was, I'm one of the original gangsters on a fixed gear bicycle in the city. And we worked hard. It was a handful of us, but we worked really hard, and we persevered. And I worked during the day and trained at night and raced on weekends. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Vails. Thank you, Shem. Thank you, Mark. And I want to say a very important thank you to each and every one of you that's here today for the work you do every day, for coming to the Youth Bike Summit, and for wanting to share it. I'm going to encourage every one of you to keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your hearts and minds open while you're here in this space today. I want you to make new friends and meet new people. And I want you to be reminded that we all have something to learn, we all have something to teach, and we all have something to share. We couldn't be the Youth Bike Summit without you here today, so please give yourselves a big round of applause. And you got here in a big snowstorm. So a couple quick things. We might be starting Workshop 1 a little bit late. Lunch directly follows, so all of the Workshop 1 presenters, feel free to do your workshops in their entirety. It'll run a little bit into lunch, and then we'll be back on track for Workshop 2. I want to remind everybody to definitely fill out the collective impact survey. They're going to be at the info table in the next building we're going to. And I would like to introduce Batala NYC. They are going to lead the Youth Bike Summit procession, and we are going to give them a warm welcome, and we're going to follow them out.